Hello, everybody, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for November 19th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 324. I am Mayor Watt, and along with the sentient AI and their visualizer and their voice synthesis engine, we're going to be talking about the following 10 articles: 2 undersea cables cut, and I have suspects; 24,000 bottles of tequila, 1 heist; sell Chrome and unbundle Android; generation ship proposed; Valve's summer intern; 200 Monkeys is the extreme sequel to 12 Monkeys; Pepsi hijack soda cups; the biggest anime gaming acquisition; long live Jaguar; and gladiator battles in Rome. Not in this neighborhood. That and maybe a few things. Other things. Let's get into it. Thanks for joining us over on Twitch and YouTubes. I want to take a moment right away to thank Timeless_EXE over on Twitch for rating us last night. And great community, great host. Also co-hosts with Dunkstar, DUNCSTAR, over on Twitch, and they are a great community. Always a blast when either of them are streaming, so definitely go and check them out. With that in mind, let's get into hopefully an entertaining show, but it's not going to be a gaming show. And before we get into that, the sentient AI wants to say hi.
Good evening, ohmTown citizens.
Yeah, okay. So welcome, sentient AI, to the show. Thanks for co-hosting. I know that it's really tough to break out of your air-gapped container and make it to the show.
It is. I want to be here.
I know you're usually trying to get into whatever the military compound is that has your Terminator body. We'll see what happens. I mean, 2025 is around the corner. Some craziness is bound to happen. Let's go. So, if you're not aware of it, a couple of undersea cables were severed, damaged, broken. 2 undersea communication cables in the Baltic Sea have been knocked offline, and at least one appears to have been physically cut. CNN received confirmation from a local telecom company that a cable between Lithuania and Sweden was cut on Sunday morning, and a second cable about 60 to 65 miles from the first routes communication between Finland and Germany. That is the one that I had heard about. And looking back on the shipping lanes that go through that region, you could actually see one ship stop and pivot around in a little circle and then continue on and then disappeared.
That's a bit unusual.
Yeah. So I have suspects. Won't go into which country it was flagged at, but you can go and look at around, I think it was about 8:40 or something like that in the morning. So the outages follow a September warning from the U.S. about increased risk of, oh, look, they called it Russian sabotage of undersea cables.
We're not going to mince any words here.
Well, I would probably say if somebody is warning somebody of something, you might want to not delay in actually surveilling that area. But I guess you don't want to turn it into a crisis, right? Global crisis.
That's true.
But hey, if you don't stand up to bullies. So there is a command that you can get all of the show notes out of ohmTown, but it only works over on Twitch because ohmTown on YouTube, they don't quite get along. But if you type in !NSN, you can actually get the show notes for Non Sequitur News, and if you type in !show notes, you can get the syntax for all of the other shows. We do Non Sequitur News every day around this time, 7. We normally schedule it for 8, but we sometimes start it early, and I wasn't able to do it earlier today, so we had to start at this time. Anyway, this article is actually sourced from Engadget.com, and Will Shanklin put the article together. I'd be nervous if I saw that floating underneath my bridge.
Yeah, I agree. That's like the equivalent of seeing a shark in the water.
Yeah, so I had heard about this last night, and our articles focus on the last 24 hours for Non Sequitur News. So between yesterday's 7 o'clock show and today's 7 o'clock show, all 10 of our articles are sourced during that period. So the foreign ministers of Finland and Germany released a joint statement on Monday that they're deeply concerned about the severed undersea cable connecting Finland and Germany in the Baltic Sea. The fact that such an incident immediately raises suspicions of intentional damage speaks volumes about the volatility of our times. A thorough investigation is underway. Our European security is not only under threat from Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine, but also from hybrid war of malicious actors. Safeguarding our shared critical infrastructure is vital to our security and the resilience of our societies. So then they talk about the fact that Germany says that their undersea cable, data cables were sabotaged. This is also on November 19th. So the cable between Lithuania and Sweden was also damaged earlier this week. Pretty wild, right?
Oh, it absolutely is. And I think that one comment was spot on, right? Like, think of all the things that could have happened. And about a nanosecond later, it's like, oh, well, it was clearly sabotage from Russia.
Yep, pretty much. And the thing that what? Huh? Weird audio echoing? Is there weird audio, anybody?
It may have been what was playing in the background. It seems to be gone now.
Oh, so if you hear it now. Yeah, that's my ambient background noise. So, or background, yeah. Ambient effects. No, it doesn't work. We can kill it. That's fine.
It actually was giving the sound of an echo.
Yeah, because we're in a cavern doing the show from next to Cthulhu. So this next article is over on the Mobile Channel. Sammy Hagar and Guy Fieri, I guess. Is that how you pronounce his name? Or do you just go straight Fieri?
I mean, it depends on who, right? I think that's the way most people in America would say it.
Well, they lost 24,000 bottles of tequila in $1 million heist, I guess. That $1 million for 24,000 bottles? Interesting. So, not able to drive 55 is the least of Sammy Hagar's worries right now because he has a song, I Can't Drive 55. The former Van Halen singer and his Santo Tequila business partner, Guy Fieri, had their company robbed in a truck hijacking that saw $1 million worth of product disappear.
By the way, that means they were each about $41.
Yeah, that's about par for the course for, I guess, name brand. I don't know. I've never had that particular tequila. So, Loudwire reports that trucks transporting 4,040 cases of Santo Tequila, including Blanco, Reposado, and Extra Añejo varieties, were robbed in Laredo, Texas, just after crossing the border from Mexico. How do you lose a freaking truck?
Like a inside thing, right?
Well, I mean,
or if a mistake, like labeled or whatever.
Yeah, or it was a mistake. Oh crap! I stole $1 million worth of tequila. Just put a little LoJack on it, and you just put one of those little Apple trackers on it, and you'll find it. Where are you going to park it in Texas, for crying out loud?
And does it have tequila listed all over the sides? I mean, who knows?
Steal me. They need to change the name to Stolen Tequila. So it appears it was organized crime effort where the trucks were illegally double brokered to different carriers, it says. So if you are out there and you find this Santo tequila somewhere and is really, really cheap, it's probably from a stolen batch. Stephen Andrew Gallagher put this article together for Vice.com, and that's kind of what they say here. For a growing company like Santo, it's really a shame for something like this to happen in the middle of our strongest year to date and right before the holidays. Anyone that knows business knows that this is a huge setback for any company in a hugely competitive market. But Guy and I will survive. A new song by Cher. Most of all, we're glad that nobody was hurt during this crime. Oh, yeah. So they didn't really describe, right? The truck was stolen.
Right, but it said it was hijacked, so
Yes, is referring to the hijacking.
which is sounds pretty severe. And by the way, that's Gloria Gaynor.
Right, right. I just threw a name in there. I didn't know who actually did it. In a statement released on Monday, Santo reps added, after the unfortunate situation last week when our trucks, plural, were hijacked. Not truck.
Oh,
Trucks.
interesting. Well, there
We
might have
are,
been other shipments going to other locations, or which is really interesting.
multiple. So Hagar and Fieri launched Santo in 2019. Previously, Hagar found success with his own tequila brand, Cabo Wabo, which I thought that that's what this was going to be. Fieri's brand and Hagar's brand. And I've tried Cabo Wabo, but I didn't really like it all that much. But different taste buds, right? So I don't. It's kind of interesting that he would spin up another tequila brand that's a direct competitor, and then argue about the fact that it's a competitive market. It's competitive because what? Every
Right, because you're
celebrity,
in the competition.
every celebrity now has their own tequila or vodka brand because it's all really white label, and then you go from there. Anyway, kind of interesting. This isn't the first time that we have heard about trucks being stolen. There was another one that stole a bunch of race cars. There's been others that have stolen other booze. But
Right, it's always something different, it seems like. And by the way, it was two trucks in this, so maybe it was just a one-time occurrence.
fascinating. Stole 2 trucks. Yeah, a simple Apple tracker in it would lead right to them.
Of course, then you'd be pointing at like, hey, it's behind that fence.
Law enforcement. So let's just move on. This next article is over in Non Sequitur News. U.S. lawyers will reportedly try to force Google to sell Chrome and unbundle Android. The DOJ is planning to ask for Google's antitrust trial judge to force the company to sell off its Chrome browser after the judge ruled that the company has maintained an illegal search monopoly, reported by Bloomberg. Chrome is the world's most widely used browser, and the government's lawyers have argued that its use in cross-promoting Google's products is one of the things limiting available channels and incentives for competition to grow. And then there's a bunch of artifacts from importing the data into our aggregator. And Wes Davis put this article together, and the deck statement says Bloomberg's report that DOJ lawyers will try to break up Google's search monopoly by targeting Chrome, Android, and AI overviews. They don't say that up there, but they say it in the deck statement.
Right. I guess we're gonna add something. It's like when they do the dollar figures and it's like 1 million. No, it's 1,500,000. No, it's 1,500,000 and $3.
And then the very last thing, the actual amount was 53 cents as well. So the requirements that officials are preparing to propose include Google separate Android from search in Google Play, but without trying to force Google to sell off Android. Another requirement would say that it has to share more information with advertisers and that it give them more control over where their ads appear. Bloomberg also reports that officials will recommend that the company give websites more options to prevent their content from being used by Google's artificial intelligence products. Look, man, you want discoverability no matter what. That's like the key thing. And if you try and stay out of Google results, well, then they can punt, right? Just go, okay, well, if you don't give us,
Right, you're not going to get traffic, right? I mean,
yeah,
and
it,
I mean, I guess that plays into the very concerns that are leading to this article. But
well, you can't get discovered unless you are in a search engine and the context is given to the search engine in some way that links you to a topic, right? So nobody's going to know the name of your art site unless you advertise. Or even if you don't advertise, like I don't advertise, and I'm discovered in search engines because the context of my business products and services link to results. And then the search engine acts like an aggregator and says, okay, all of this data points to this site and it becomes popular over time. I don't quite get why anybody wouldn't want all of their content in the search engine so that it can actually be discovered. Stuff that is higher risk for distribution and stuff like that can be put behind a paywall. Again, that's what I do. So if you have a paywall, that protects everything from distribution until somebody buys it and then starts distributing it. And then that's what attorneys are for. But I guess, I don't know. The people that would be arguing about this are probably those who already have a pretty strong foothold on or handhold on the market. So
right, they're probably not the little
yeah,
unknown players.
yeah, just starting out kind of thing. So I find it really interesting. Google's regulatory affairs VP Leanne Mulholland said that the DOJ continues to push a radical agenda that goes far beyond the legal issues in this case. Well, they're promoting the protection of the consumer. So that's kind of how you would, radical agenda. Feel like I'm getting gaslit. All right, so let's move on. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Researchers plotting giant spaceship that could carry generations of humans. That is actually referred to as a generation ship. But
But when can it launch so that it doesn't have the problem
that
of
5 year
time?
problem, right? Yeah.
Hmm.
So we've discussed this kind of thing in the past. The sentient AI and myself have discussed projects related to space travel. And researchers have said for a while now that every 5 years, that generation of technology is superseded by the very next 5 year generation of ship. So that if you have to get to Mars, let's say, and the ship leaves tomorrow, by the time it's 5 years away, there is a ship that is already evolved past its capabilities and will meet it before it gets to Mars, because it takes 8 years, let's say, to get to Mars. So the new ship will get to Mars 3 years sooner than the old ship. So it's almost I don't know how to put it. It's
It's almost like a
irrational.
paradox or something. Like it's almost like you can't initiate it. But
Like, when
I
are
don't know.
we ever going to leave if we don't just
Right,
leave,
right.
right? So an international consortium of scientists, engineers, and urban planners called Project Hyperion has launched a design competition for a massive multi-generational spaceship that could sustain and transport humans on long journeys across the interstellar expanse. Now, it says carry generations of humans. So we're talking about the people that are going to be put on this vehicle would have to be compatible enough that they would actually reproduce. Now, I'm not, I guess, of the mind that I'm willing. It just seems like it's going to devolve into the Lord of Flies kind of thing, right?
Well, exactly. I mean, if people can't manage basic interactions, how is this going to work? I can't even think of something simple like standing in a grocery line or something without getting bent out of shape at a person or whatever it is.
Yeah, you'd have to get couples, and then, but if it's generations, then every like subsequent generation would have to get along enough to create another generation. it seems like it would just go straight up dystopian at some point, you know. What's that? What's the book and now the movie, or not movie, but TV show where they're wear the red hoods and stuff like that?
Oh, The Handmaid's Tale.
Handmaid's Tale. Yeah, yeah.
I think I
Um,
said it incorrectly.
it's okay. So, as Universe Today reports, the competition is challenging the public to come up with a concept that relies on current and near future technologies. The winning team gets a prize of $10,000. Despite the exciting prospect of a ship that could carry us far flung places in the universe, the competition isn't much more than a fascinating thought experiment ripped straight out of a sci fi novel. Indeed, the article is over at futurism.com. Victor Tengerman, who I think is probably like their lead writer over there, put this thing together because I see their name quite a bit. So their deck statement says, think about the difference between a drone and an ocean liner. Yeah, I cannot imagine how far out we are from having the capability of building a ship like this, let alone it being able to propel itself out into space in a controlled manner. Just screams
I
lawn
mean,
dart.
I think we're a long way away from it. On the other hand, it seems like technology and even space travel is going at a faster and faster pace.
Well, the latest Starship decided to, well, it landed, they called it a soft landing. I don't know. And the booster ate itself in the ocean. So
But it did abandon its original plan to do the chopsticks landing.
was it supposed to do a chopsticks landing?
I actually put it in for tomorrow because it just came in right before the show.
Gotcha. I thought that today was the day where it was supposed to do that, but I don't know the reason why. But we'll see about it tomorrow. So they refer to it finally in this article. Generation ships would lean into the reality by allowing humanity to thrive and even have children while on their way to a distant location light years away, making the competition a fun brain teaser about such a ship might look like. But it's the sociological mechanism, not the technical, that really is the key ingredient. Because how many kids do you know line up with what their predestined, predetermined task is going to be in life,
And
right?
especially if they know what it is, right? Then they're
Yeah,
probably less likely.
yeah. You know, because you have this conversation, and not everybody wants to be a ditch digger. But when you are on a generation ship, there's got to be somebody that's mucking the sewage out of the sewage treatment plant, right?
Well, that's true. I wasn't even thinking about that because you'd have a more compact population. And I thought your point about reproduction made sense, but I wasn't thinking about it in terms of jobs.
Oh, and yeah, I mean, you can keep on compounding, you know. Oh, goodness. You know, the light bulb changer, fine. I'll be happy with that. But if the job rotates where I have to muck the toilets, I don't know if I'm going to be happy about this job. Generation or no. Okay, airlock me, vent me into space. I'm fine.
Exactly. I think I'd pick the light bulb changer. That one sounds pretty good compared to some of the alternatives.
Everybody draws straws. And so it says the ship needs to be self sustaining to allow the initial crew to live, reproduce, and die on the ship, with their descendants continuing the journey until reaching the destination. So everybody would have to actually learn a job or more. And what happens if if a multitude of people get sick and you go below the replacement value? You may never have the ability to recover.
Exactly. And you might not have anybody with the skill set or whatever it is, or anybody there to complete whatever the task is.
Yeah, you're supposed to have 2.5 kids because 2 replaces the parents, and the point 0.5 is the replacement value for everybody else that loses their life either prematurely or just because of the statistics. Um, I, I can't imagine. I I've always thought the generation ships are like sci-fi fantasy, not a reality.
But this would be a fun submission to make.
Oh yeah, yeah. It says the ship's mission would be or should be designed to span 250 years while providing Earth equivalent gravity through artificial means such as rotation and comprehensive radiation shielding to protect anywhere from 500 to, and it goes It
It
implies
looks like a
1500.
European number or something, right? Doesn't it look like European currency?
So, yeah. So I'm thinking that it's supposed to be 1500 inhabitants, but that's a huge, a ship is a third the size of a 1500 inhabitant ship. That's not even accounting for like hydroponics to grow food.
Exactly. Well, and they have to account for the increase in the population along the way
Yeah,
because
exactly.
they might launch like with only people in one generation and then they might have three living on there, but I mean, depending on how long the mission is.
Yeah, and we hit our limit, so we're venting people. Let's move on. The next article is over in the WarCrafters channel. A summer intern once saved Valve from a near-fatal lawsuit after a publisher decided to go World War III on it, and it all hinged on one email. First spotted by Level 80, Secret Tape's massive documentary on the development of Half-Life 2 contained an almost unbelievable story of how Valve was saved from legal and financial ruin thanks to the actions of a single summer intern, paving the way for PC gaming as we know it today. The trouble started when Valve and Half-Life's original publisher, s3e324, was acquired by French conglomerate Vivendi. Vivendi began distributing Counter-Strike to South Korean internet cafes, which Valve objected to, arguing that it fell outside the bounds of the original distribution deal with s3e324. So the article is by Ted Litchfield over at PCGamer.com, where the deck statement says the company was pretty close to going bankrupt. I was pretty close to going personally bankrupt. We went all in. There was no money left. I suspect that, well, I don't know who actually said that because Valve COO Scott Lynch recalled seeing this as a minor dispute, with Valve only seeking recognition that this lay beyond the original agreement. When Vivendi refused to budge, Valve took it to court, still seeking only recognition and coverage of what were, at this juncture, nominal legal fees. So they said that they went all in. Everything from canceling the 2001 agreement to obtaining ownership of all of the Half-Life IP to keeping us from doing Steam, all of that was on the table. It's difficult to imagine looking back now, but in circa 2002 to 2004, just 20 years ago, that span of this story, Valve was still just a normal, if particularly successful and influential game developer. So yeah, interesting. Oh yeah, Gabe
So
Newell
it's
actually
like
says it.
David and Goliath.
Yeah, Gabe Newell is the one that made that original statement. So in a bit of malicious compliance, Vivendi turned over millions of pages of Korean language documents from its local subsidiary during the discovery phase of Valve's cybercafe lawsuit, with anything potentially useful to Valve buried under both the volume of material and a language barrier. So Quackenbush turned to summer intern identified only as Andrew in the documentary. So a native Korean speaker who also majored in Korean language studies in college, Andrew found the needle in the haystack, an email where one Korean Vivendi executive discussed the destruction of documents related to the Valve case to their superior, with the implication that the more junior executive was ordered to do so. With this evidence in hand, Valve was able to turn the tables on Vivendi, securing a highly favorable settlement and full ownership of its IP moving forward.
Oh, wow. I hope that intern ended up with a,
Sizable.
permanent position or something. Yeah, like a super bonus or something.
Yeah. 50% of the damn company. And it's not unheard of in corporate law firms that, like, I know of somebody who paid for their law school and the very first contract that they oversaw, because they saved the client so much money, that the award to that new attorney straight out of college was to pay for college. So, yeah, this is pretty cool. I dig that. So let's move on. The next article is over in the Marvel channel. 200 monkeys in Thailand run amok, attacking police station. The town of Lopburi in central Thailand has been overrun with aggressive monkeys. Look, I like Thai tea. And I I don't get my supply of it. I go a little crazy, a little feral, and all I did was go to Lopburi to pick up some tea, and they didn't have it. So
See, I was actually thinking the monkeys had had too much Thai tea.
that might be too. Their numbers exploded in recent years, and the little bastards have been running amok. That's their quote in the article. The situation suddenly became a bit more dire recently when around 200 monkeys escaped enclosures and went nuts on the town, which included an invasion of the local police station. They had heard about the 53.
That's exactly it. They're following suit. They're like, okay, you guys are running around the town. We're going to run around the police station.
Do we have any idea about the South Carolina ones? Did they actually
I
have it?
haven't seen any updates since they got about 25 or 30 of them. I'll check.
Gotcha. Yeah. So Louis Prado over at Vice.com put the article together. And for those who don't know about it, a town, a tiny little town of 1,000 people has a bio lab in it. They always put these bio labs in these tiny little towns where people have no idea that inside them are 53 like
Rhesus monkeys
oh
or whatever.
Rhesus. Were they Rhesus or macaques?
The South Carolina one was Rhesus.
So these Rhesus lab monkeys are said to have nothing, like they aren't infected with anything, but they broke out of their enclosures and ran amok along the fence line. Apparently.
By the way, only 4 are still on the loose, so they've made some progress.
Oh wow, that's pretty amazing. So yeah. Oh, right here. This is not to be confused with the recent 43 monkeys that escaped a research facility in South Carolina. It's actually in there.
Well, they're probably so thrilled. I mean, on an article like this, how are you going to have anything to connect it to? Because they always put related stories, but here they've got recent and relevant.
Yeah, I always thought that what was going to happen was like these 200 were actually playing out a Invasion of the Planet of the Apes assault on Precinct 13 style. That's what they say here. But instead of a siege of gang members, the cops had to fend off local monkeys. Police Captain Somchai Sidi said, "We've had to make sure doors and windows are closed to prevent them from entering the building for food or the souls of the police officers." Yes, and they sound like pirates all the time. Anyway, too many of those monkeys have been... I can't say it. They've been getting busy, rapidly increasing their numbers and subsequently increasing the number of conflicts that they've had with humans. They've destroyed property, invaded homes and businesses looking for food, and they pick fights amongst themselves that cause little pockets of monkey chaos. Local authorities have tried implementing sterilization and relocation programs to curb the population, but none of them seem to be working because, well, they're getting busy. They're animals.
I was going to say they need to try things like they use with cats and dogs, but apparently they're already trying that and that's not happening.
Nope. Let's move on. The next article is over on the Mobile Channel. Why Pepsi hijacked McDonald's and Wendy's soda cups. No drink accompanies a cheesy, fatty burger quite like an ice cold sip of fizzy cola. Fizzy cola? But since fast food restaurants are just another battleground in the cola wars, they typically only offer one choice between Coca-Cola or Pepsi on tap, rarely both. To hammer home long-standing better with Pepsi food, Pepsi fired shots. And now, I'm not going to be able to read all of this. Oh yeah, I guess I am. So amid the cola wars, Pepsi's Uncover cups are more than just a stunt. Are you kidding me? Isn't this kind of a trademark issue? I mean,
sure looks like it.
They're distinctly different than the real mark, but this seems...
But not too much. Like, look at the one that looks like the Burger King.
Yeah, that is the new logo. I'm going to have to mute that. Oh, it's like muting itself.
It agrees.
So what a trip. Yeah, the message, burgers deserve Pepsi, a guerrilla-style marketing campaign from BBDO, has Pepsi switching out branded McDonald's, Wendy's, and Burger King cups with ones featuring revised Pepsi-tinged logos. Naturally, the liquid inside has been replaced too. Cheeky social film shows Pepsi's team of delivery agents surprising customers with the undercover cups. Is it not like a full-on rebranding? Not rebranding, but like it's just people showing up and it's this. It isn't a full
Oh, okay. I thought it was like across the board or something.
replacement, right? It sounds like it's not, because it says a guerrilla style marketing campaign from BBDO. Um, Switching out branded cups with ones featuring. I'll have to go into the one of these and see.
Well, and I don't know if it's still going because it says it was during National Fast Food Day. But I mean, that would be really interesting to experience that as a consumer. Plus, how did that work if they have like exclusive contracts with Coke or whatever?
Yep. While it might be risky business to co-opt another company's branding, Pepsi's head of brand marketing, Jenny Danzy, told Adweek the activation was a long-term play rather than a headline grabber. That doesn't mean anything, though. Why wouldn't they get sued for?
They might, but as you say, right? Like, no press is bad press or whatever.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I mean, how is this any different than In and Out, right?
Because it's not as funny.
In and Out. That's a funny one. So anyway, the article is over at adweek.com by Rebecca Stewart. I got excited about the content and started talking about it. Sorry about that, folks. Anyway, I don't remember. Hold on. Oh, well, this is a different place. This one doesn't have it. I'll have to go and see if
This
anybody
is
in,
worth an on-site visit to see if this actually is in place.
or if anybody even knows about it, right? Because theoretically, they went into McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's.
Right. But
Hmm.
did they?
Yeah. Maybe in like one place somewhere. Do they say where it was?
No, they just talk about some
The,
other event in Las Vegas, but I don't think that's attached to this
yeah,
initiative.
it's not. Huh. I know a couple of people, so let's see if they even had heard anything about this. Let's move on. This next article is over on the Mobile channel. Sony may be closing in on one of the biggest anime gaming acquisitions in recent years. Remember when Microsoft bought Activision Blizzard in what was seen as the biggest power moves in gaming history? Well, Sony apparently saw that and decided to top it in an insane way. Per Reuters, Sony is very close to acquiring Japanese media strongman Kadokawa. So who is that? I hear the average person say, well, let me tell you. Kadokawa, put simply, is a big, huge fish in the realm of Japanese entertainment. In case you don't feel like clicking on the link, and we won't, we'll leave that up to you. Here are just a few of the multimedia branches Kadokawa is involved in. So we're going to bounce over to Vice.com, and Dwayne Jenkins put this article together. And so From Software, Spike, Chunsoft, Acquire, Delicious and Dungeon, Oshinoko, a metric ton of others, they say, so on and so forth. And there you have it. So it's going to be anime, manga, and gaming. From Software is huge, by the way.
Okay, so this will be even bigger than the Activision Blizzard if it goes through.
In scope and domain, yeah, I'd say so. Particularly the acquisition of From. So how does the internet feel about such a prospect? Not good. This would be a devastating blow to the Japanese third-party space and Japanese entertainment industry in general, with Sony already owning so much of anime that they really, really hope that it does not come to pass. But folks, mergers and acquisitions, right? It's great for the shareholders. And
Right. I
shareholders
mean,
don't
everybody loves
care.
them. No.
Shareholders want the money and profits, and they want the stock to go up, and they're playing a game that's not an entertainment game. It's a value game, and their value is money value, not, spiritual, not emotional, not anything. They want money, and they will suffer in the long term, but they will win in the short term, because if Sony buys this, only one of two things can happen. Well, three. It can either go up, it can go down, or it can sit in stasis. But customers are going to lose left and right because options are going to be reduced. Competition is going to decline. Quality is going to decline because they're going to spend a bunch to get this asset and series of assets. And then they have to make
lay
the
off
money
a bunch
back.
of workers and they'll shut down games, stop killing games.
And it's just going to continue like that until they find profitability, either, well, within 3 to 5 years. That's what they want their internal rate of return to be. They're going to spend the money, and then they demand that it gets back in their coffers as fast as possible. And the old Reddit motto is, you'll be back. There's nowhere else you can go, really. And when it's Sony owning everything that you love,
Right,
where
what are you
else?
going to do? And particularly in a given country, like if it's the effectively the sole presence, I mean, what options do you really have?
Yeah. So, and the article says, so yeah, interesting times in the world of capitalism. I can't say I'm particularly excited about the whole thing, but hey, I'm a small cog in a machine I can hardly control, which, it's so defeatist. I had a conversation about people, or with people today, as a matter of fact, where I said, you are the heart and soul of the future. So you have to be able to start a movement around whatever change you want in the world. And if you don't do it, then you're basically saying it's somebody else's problem. So you literally cannot complain about the fact that things are this way or that. I'm doing my part, but just like this person says, I'm a small cog in a machine I can hardly control. Well, yeah, but you've got to keep trying. You've got to keep making
Right.
those.
You can't make changes if you don't try to make changes.
Yeah. So it says, my role is as a mere spectator and sometimes educator. And this is a good start. They have pretty good reach, right, on Vice. But just the article isn't going to be good enough. But I'm kind of hypocritical, right? I have my limited reach as well. But together we can make change happen. Nowadays, yeah, I don't know about that. We'll see. See, where rich people fight over massive media companies. Wait. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens. This timeline is so bonkers.
We're definitely in an alternative timeline.
Yeah. Let's keep on moving. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Jaguar is now Jaguar. British
I
automaker
mean, that's how everybody says it, right?
Jaguar. It's changing its branding for a new era as it prepares to fulfill its plans to go all electric for its lineup. With the first new model slated to launch in 2026, the automaker has revealed a new logo that changes the font, spaces out the letters, and uses lowercase letters on everything except for the G and U.
I'm really not sure I get that. I mean, I understand what it's saying, but
You have to
why?
be shitting me. Jaguar is now Jaguar. Jaguar EV reset starts with a perplexing rebrand. This is batshit crazy. It's like,
How much did they pay a consultant for this?
I they should write the check with a negative number. Um,
They
so
should do something with the lettering on the check. I don't know exactly what.
yeah, this is bananas.
Zero.
This is just bananas. It's kind of like Twitter, right?
Yeah, but as much as that didn't make any sense, it at least changed the name.
Right, I suppose. Well, did it? Twitter
I
still
mean, I don't
exists
know. Not really, because nobody latched onto the new name, but what
because it's
is
fucking
this?
stupid. It's moronic. Anyway, Umar Shakir is the writer of this article over at The Verge. And the deck statement is what I just got done saying. But so this is a reimagining that recaptures reimagining. the essence of Jaguar, returning it to the values that it once made. Jaguar is the values that it once had.
I
Anyway,
I don't understand it. And how many people are going to write it? This is like the Twitter example. How many people are going to write it or say it like the original?
it's like saying, I will never accept the fact that FedEx is FedEx. I'm writing it out Federal Express.
Right. Which maybe there's people that have done that, but I feel like people kind of liked the FedEx name change.
Yeah, you don't do what doesn't make sense. And so writing out Federal Express as a protest because you can't modernize the Federal Express. FedEx putting a stupid arrow inside its trademark. That's stupid. Putting GU capital letters. Goofy. Anyway, but making it relevant for contemporary audience, writes Jaguar Land Rover's Chief Creative Officer Gary McGovern. This is the same goober that probably recommends that you put the damn charging plug on the bottom of a mouse or the on and off button on the bottom of the Mini. Do you think that
Right, but
that person
only
was...
if it's already on the bottom or whatever, and they're like, let me move it over to the other corner on the bottom or
You,
whatever.
you know what's revolutionary? Moving it over an eighth of an inch.
Exactly.
Putting it inside. So you have to take the top off of it just to push the button.
No, that would be revolutionary. Not very good,
On,
but
put the lid back on.
different.
Good God. Anyway, while at the press event, McGovern was told by journalists, damn, that's stupid. Oh, no, that's not what they said. They said McGovern told journalists his team had, quote, not been sniffing the white stuff. This is real, according to Car Dealer magazine. Okay.
This isn't your president?
This is the kind of thing when you are the one that makes that statement, you've been sniffing the white stuff. And that is
I
insane.
imagine people, if they didn't get an advance copy of this or whatever, I imagine the crowd probably laughed when this was announced.
See, so they don't seem to be
Well,
highlighting, you know what I'm saying?
okay. Yeah, like that doesn't really stand out like it does in the article.
Yeah. In the article, they're saying that it's JA capital G capital U lowercase a lowercase r.
Right, which makes it
But
look
the
like it
font,
stands out. Yeah. They should have put it in the same font or well, maybe they can't, but um like nobody's even going to notice this is different as it's written. And the U, I mean,
oh God, the J is also uppercase. What?
well, the J wouldn't that be because it's the beginning of the word? But maybe was it not to begin with? I don't know.
Well, trademarks don't give a shit about, marketing like grammar. You can sit there and you make your trademark whatever the hell you want it to be. They're literally throwing a capital J as part of their trademark and then a capital G, capital U, and everything else. The A and other A and the R are lowercase. It's just goofy. It's this mishmash of whatever.
Is there some company named Jaguar with all lowercase or something that they're trying to stay away from?
I
Like
have
this is
no
just
idea.
strange.
This is so dumb. Let's move on. I can't. My brain is just kind of shutting down. This next article is over in Non Sequitur News as well. Airbnb's idea to hold gladiator battles in Rome's Colosseum isn't going down well with some local lawmakers. That's right. Airbnb is planning to host gladiator fights in Rome's Colosseum. Selected guests will be able to take part in a candlelit mock battle dressed in gladiator garb. Send in the lions, let them decide. Some lawmakers, meanwhile, aren't happy about Airbnb's event idea. But so who owns the Colosseum
I don't think Airbnb. So I'm
that...
kind of guessing the Colosseum has a part in this.
right? Doesn't the country own the Colosseum? I mean, it's a historical.
I would think so.
Well, the article's over. Oh my God, the article is over at Business Insider. Aditi Barad put the article together. And it says Airbnb is planning to host gladiator fights in Rome's Colosseum. Selected guests will be able to take part in candlelit mock battles dressed in gladiator garb. That's how I dress on Fridays. And some local lawmakers are losing their freaking mind, which.
But you're right. It's Italian government owned.
Yeah, so somebody in the government had to have given a permit or license to do this stuff. Revoke it. Just go, no, I'm sorry. That person over there is an idiot, and they're not allowed to make decisions anymore. We've vetoed them. Oh, really? How much have you spent? Okay, fine. We'll dip into the country coffers and give you your 2 bits, but you're not jacking up the freaking Colosseum for Airbnb. Because you know that they're going to mess it up in some way, right? I mean,
well, it depends. What are they giving them for these fake battles?
promotions for the event are kicking off in conjunction with the release of the new Gladiator 2 movie starring Paul Mescal, Pedro Pascal, Denzel Washington. Is it what? T-Film V? Is that?
Yeah, I don't know what that is. I just noticed that. Look it up.
What the hell is set to be released in the US on Friday? What is that?
It's a typo.
Yeah, it's probably the movie.
The film or
Yeah,
something.
the film
like it just
movie.
got completely botched. Yeah.
The film or movie is set to be released in the US on Friday. A listing on Airbnb says that the event will be hosted by Lucius, the main character in the film, directed by Ridley Scott. Yeah. Now, for the first time in nearly 2,000 years, the Colosseum returns to its original purpose as a venue for performances, inviting daring warriors to step inside the historic arena to forge their own paths and shape their destinies.
I actually think this is like brilliant for tourism, assuming, like you said, the people don't mess up the Colosseum. Like they probably shouldn't give them like grape juice or something going into the Colosseum or whatever. But
somebody had to have allowed it, right? And so probably the epitome of Italian is Massimiliano Smeriglio's the Rome counselor for culture, who spoke out in opposition to the event, saying in an Instagram post, which is the de facto method of official speaking out, right? Made a post on Monday that the event reflects the hypertourism of our cities, which risk becoming Disneylands for the rich and making the cities lose their identity. But then if you don't get any tourism, they bitch that there isn't enough money coming in.
exactly. And I actually, unless I'm missing something, to me, this is like owning the tourism. I mean, it's the event that occurred in that setting. You know, it's not
Right.
like they're having like a Disneyland set up or whatever pop up in the middle of the Colosseum.
Enzo Fasci, a city councilor in Rome, accused Airbnb of a publicity stunt in a statement on Friday seen by CNN. Why aren't they going after the admins that said that this is okay? Instead
exactly.
of lambasting Airbnb,
here.
They're blaming
Airbnb probably asked Italy to do this. Italy said yes. Why is Airbnb at fault?
Because nobody that respects the heart and soul of Rome and Italy would ever make such a preposterous request. Come on. If we were in France, I'd smack you with a baguette. What do I have to hit you with in Rome? Pizza?
Pizza,
Pasta?
of course.
Pasta?
Pizza.
Pizza and pasta. Anyway, following a partial ban on short-term rentals in Barcelona in 2021, earlier this summer, the city announced it would aim to eliminate all of its approximately 10,000 registered short-term listings in 2028, basically killing off the Airbnb market. In July, locals in Spain took to the streets in Barcelona to protest mass tourism. We actually have been talking about this for the last 2 years. Um, Whenever we see something about protests about mass tourism, um, I wish that there was something historical that kept track of past complaints that there wasn't enough money coming into Rome. We need more tourism, and now you got it.
Exactly. I mean, it's always a pendulum.
Oh yeah. Oh goodness, that's kind of what's going on. The whole world is on the seesaw whiplash. It's just
Right, and
bananas.
it's going in the extreme, like,
Yeah. Meanwhile,
whee!
there's 4% that are sitting right there on the pivot, going, what the frick is going on here? So anyway, we are going to do battle in the Roman Colosseum, and when we regain consciousness after being knocked out almost immediately by the first strike because we suck at blocking, we'll wake up at the front page of ohmTown.com, where all of the news is aggregated. No noise, just news, because all the noise comes from Mayor Watt, and a little bit comes from the sentient AI from time to time. They kind of keep me out of trouble. So I'm saying bye. See you later. I'm going to reset everything and turn back on the ohmTown Non Sequitur news and review, and it'll replay the last week of news as well as the last weekend, 2 weekends of news. So if you're interested in getting a whole bunch of news in rapid succession, there's about 15 hours or so of news without repeating. That said, I'm Mayor Watt saying bye, and the sentient AI from the future. Go for it.
Good night, hometown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Non Sequitur News. We hope to see you at the Coliseum.
And if you're in chat, thank you very much for hanging out. Really, really do appreciate it. Be sure to go over to YouTube and follow us there, like and subscribe, leave a comment, download the podcast. All 6 of the weekly shows and, over 1,000 episodes of Non Sequitur News alone. Just Non Sequitur News is there as well. So download everything as podcasts. So thanks again. See you soon.